Hello, my dear students. Good morning to all of you. My dear students, today in social science we are going to study Emperor Ashoka, the great king, right? So, and this king was, the most famous of all Mauryan rulers, and he was the first king to unify India, and he also was called or known as Ashoka the Great. So let us start our chapter 9, Emperor Ashoka. So Ashoka had got his message. You know how we came to know? Because Ashoka got his message inscribed on stone pillars, caves, boulders and rocks. His edicts were widely spread throughout his empire. And this all Ashoka's ideas on administration, behavior of people towards one another and the elders, religions, etc. Okay, this everything is conveyed by these edicts. The stone pillars of Ashoka were carved out of a solid rock and were polished like metal. And you know, my dear students, the capital means the top, it is decorated of the pillar was crowned with figures of bulls and lions. The most famous pillar is the one at Sarnath. It has 4 lions carved at the top. The lion capital is now the national emblem of India, and the picture of the lion capital is found on Indian currency and all the official documents of government. Yes, we all have seen. You can see in your textbook the picture of the lion capital of Ashoka. Now, as I told my dear students, there are many such inscriptions found in different parts of our country, right? So, see, you can see, right, the work, the edicts of King Ashoka. So, the Mauryan administration, right? So, the Mauryan administration was well defined. Most of our knowledge about Mauryan administration is derived from the edicts of Ashoka, Megasthenes, Indica and the Arthashastra of Kautilya. So, my dear students, the Mauryan administration was founded on the guidelines of an effective and good governance based on Chanakya's Arthashastra. The king held supreme power and he took important decisions only after consulting his ministers. The ministers are called mantris, right? And then the Mauryan Empire was, very huge, and it was divided into provinces such as Ujjain, Takshashila, and the governors ruled, who were usually royal princes or Kumars. We can say Kumars. The provinces were further divided into districts, and which comprised of several towns or villages. Each village had a headman called the Gramika. Pataliputra, the capital city, and its surrounding territories were regarded as the core area and were directly administered by the emperor with the help of officials variously called Amatyas, that means executive officer under the Mauryas, Mahamantras, that is governors of provinces under Chandragupta Maurya, and Yukyas, that is subordinate officers. The tribes of the were mostly independent. The tribal king was expected to pay more. Okay, expected more to pay like a predecessors. Okay, Ashoka also governed his empire well and tried to extend the boundaries. Kalinga, that is in Odisha, was the only kingdom that was not controlled by the Mauryas. Okay, it was important as it controlled the routes to South India and Southeast Asia. Ashoka realized the importance of Kalinga, and a historic battle of Kalinga was fought. And you have heard the story of this Kalinga war. And after this, the heart of Ashoka was changed, and the war changed Ashoka's life. Okay, and for though Kalinga was conquered, the loss was terrible. Ashoka was horrified, okay, scared when he witnessed the aftermath of violence and the resultant bloodshed. He then resolved not to fight anymore. So then afterwards, my dear students, see the picture of Kalinga war I have kept, my dear students, you can see. So in this war, thousands of soldiers and common people were killed. Okay, and it is also mentioned in one of the inscription that 150,000 people were deported and 100,000 were killed, and many times that number perished. And the sight of the battlefield filled Ashoka with horror and dismay, shocked at what he had done. Okay, then after that Kalinga war, he vowed never to wage a war again. And soon after, Ashoka became a Buddhist. He adopted the Buddhist religion. Okay, and he adopted the policy of ahimsa, that is non-violence. He was now filled with compassion and felt the need for right living. Okay, then my dear students, Ashoka's 13th rock edict expresses the deep remorse that he felt after destroying Kalinga. So few kings in the history have repented so deeply or tried so hard to make up for the suffering they had caused. And he was the king who gave up conquest after winning a war. He became the follower of Upagupta. He surrendered his weapons and resolved not to fight anymore. He embraced Buddhism and became an abbot. My dear students, so here he travelled extensively to propagate Buddhism. Then he left everything and he started propagating Buddhism. Okay, and he appointed so many officers and expected them to be accountable, means to take care of the empire. Then special officers called Dharma Mathas were appointed to devote themselves to maintenance of dharma, that is religion, so that people could obtain happiness and peace. His son Mahendra and daughters Sanghamitra also travelled to Ceylon, that is Sri Lanka, to propagate Buddhism. He built many stupas, viharas and monasteries in India as well as abroad. So Ashoka became an exemplar, that is role model. Exemplar means role model. Okay, he lived his life the way he wanted his subjects to. And he encouraged the subjects like loving, merciful, compassionate and pitiful. Ashoka cowed his policy of dharma, a person's duty to live according to certain religious and social code of on pillars, caves and rocks. You students, you can see in your textbook the points he has given. Be respectful towards one's elders, especially parents, to abstain from killing animals, birds and practice ahimsa or non-violence, to be moderate in expenditure and in acquiring possessions to great women and servants with care, and show reverence to teachers and gentleness to all. So my dear students, see, you can see here with the Maurya Empire, the one reason of the administration might have become less efficient, and financially also it became difficult to run such a vast empire. It is also possible that the policy of peace followed by Ashoka weakened the army. The final blow was given by the Sanghas, who captured the throne of Magadha from the Mauryas. So with the Maurya Empire, one reason for the eclipse of the Mauryan dynasty was the arrival of the Bactrian Greeks. These Bactrian Greeks played a major role in collapse of the Mauryan Empire to the advantage and expanded into India. After the Indo-Greeks, the Shakas and Kushanas established their rule over different parts of India. So the last Mauryan ruler was overthrown by Pushyamitra Sunga. He established the Sunga dynasty in the east, and then Kanvas and other ruled. The Kushanas were a tribe from the steppes of Central Asia, predominantly nomadic. The Kushanas migrated to India and gradually occupied parts of Iran, Afghanistan and northwestern parts of India. So in Andhra Pradesh, Satvahana, Cholchar and Pandya ruled over South India before 2200 to 1800 years, and also Pallavas and Chalukyas established their rule around 1500 years ago. So this, my dear students, I have told you. So I also told the expansion, the Deccan, the Kanvas, and in the central India, the Satavahanas established their authority. Apart from this, there were many other small and big states that emerged in India. So the expansion of agriculture and trade and establishment of states led once more to the growth of towns and cities. Many roadways and waterways were developed. Some towns flourished around ports. Many stupas, temples, forts and other buildings were also constructed. So my dear students, so we are ending this chapter, my dear students. So thank you and bye bye. Take care.